list of things that one's done when somebody else says it, but truth of the matter is there's a lot of awesome people here that help me not fail at all those things that they announced that I did, and so I just want to at least recognize, some of them: Liz Fernandez and Ramon Miguez, Alan Hendricks, Saeed, Tom Morse. Anyway, with that said, I'm sure that's not why you invited me to come here to speak. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the bond program. And looking at the audience, I see many older gentlemen and ladies like myself, and some very young ones. So I'm going to try to at least talk about what a bond program is as I'm transitioning into this. And let me just find out how I do this. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what the process is getting into an election of the bond program, and then the process of how we're going to implement this bond program for 2017. So what is a bond program? I'm going to start by telling you what it's not. The city every year has a budget. In that budget, they pay for normal things such as salaries for employees, police, vehicles, electricity, fuel, all those things, the mop and glow to clean the floors and so on, all those things that keep the city moving on a day-to-day basis. But every about 4, 5, 6 years, we have what we call a bond program. That bond program, different from the general fund or the normal way we fund things, the citizens actually vote to have a bond program. So it's different. One council members do it, the 4 to 5, 6 years, council people, or rather the citizens vote on that. And so there's a lot of work that goes in place to put something together. Each of these projects, I'll call them the brick and mortar projects of a bond program, should last about 10 to 20 years. And they include streets, thoroughfares, the parks, recreations, flood, all those things that you see in that screen. For those that can't read it, I'll continue. Library facilities, cultural facilities. Those two bottom ones are a little bit different. Water and wastewater facilities, airports, infrastructure. We pay for those improvements with bonds, but they pay those back with revenues that they get for providing those services. As to the top ones are paid by property taxes and the lower taxes. So as we continue moving on to that path, I'm going to go through many of these steps that you see here: technical criteria, public input, a little bit about citizens task force and citizens input, and that was different this year than we've had other years. I'll talk about that, as well as the council approval and what's in that bond program. So first, you start off with a needs inventory for the city. So you might be thinking, well, what's a needs inventory? Well, it's a list of all things that we need. It's just nothing sophisticated about the term that we use. And so every year we start, or every day almost, we put in a list those things that are failing, that need to be replaced, that need to be done. We'll do this for streets, parks, Fair Park, and on through that you see here, libraries, city facilities. After that, what we'll start to do is we'll come up with let me move a little bit further down. So after that, once you put all these things together, you come up with a cost. So you put an estimated cost for each of those needs. And for the city of Dallas alone, if you put in all the needs, streets and transportation, parks and recreation, cultural facilities, court facilities, and so on, the needs exceed $10 billion. So obviously, we cannot borrow $10 billion to get it all done. And so what we'll do is we'll start to try to prioritize projects. And the way we do that is we come up with a technical criteria by which we help us to rank projects. what are the most important projects and on through. So that's what we have done. And so we'll start ranking the projects. Say for a street, it may be, well, who uses it? Is it a path to a school? Is it a path to a hospital? How about DART uses it? And so on. How long has it been in a very bad shape? We've also assessed the condition of every street. And so how bad has it been for so long? And we'll do something similar to our facilities and for all the other needs. And so we come up with a grand total of, you just saw the previous one, $10 billion. And so then these council members have to decide, how much do we want to spend? Should we have a tax increase? Should we not? And pretty consistently, I would say, for most of the U.S., we've been avoiding any kind of tax increase. So we'll have a bond program to the point that there will not be a tax rate increase. So you're saying, how do you do that? Well, this is just a little bit of a graphic on what that process is. If you look at that bottom red bars, those represent how we're paying down previous bonds. If you look at the blue ones, that is the most previous bonds or latest bonds, 2012, and what those pay downs would look like. And if you look at the green bar, that is what we are predicting with good historical and the most conservative way, what our property values will continue to increase. That gap in between is how much we can afford without a tax increase. So I talked about, so once we determine how much we're going to spend, and in this case, our council decided it was going to be just a little bit over $1 billion. We also need to get input from the public. We need to get what are the things that are important to them. We had 31 town halls. We also used the website where they can input, register what their priorities are. And we had quite a bit of that. But now something happened in this last bond program that's different from what the city of Dallas has done before. And we have what we called, our city manager asked us to put together the Citizens Bond Program Task Force. So after we have received all this comment from the public, we developed these bond task force, and they were concentrated on streets, public parks and trails, flood protection, critical facilities, economic development. And each of these task force got input from the public as well, looked at the sites and made recommendations to our council. These bond task force started, I think it was March. They were wrapped up by June. They put a lot of work together in a very compressed time period. Had, again, multiple other meetings. They made their recommendation to the council on June 7th. City council received that. They resolved that $1.05 billion size of the bond program. If some of you are maybe asking, so why that number? Could you have afforded more? There was a capacity for doing more, but there was uncertainty with our police pension program at the time, so they refrained from going too high in the event. And then thereafter, we worked with the council members to work on the specific streets that they wanted to work on, specific parks, and the rest is history. And you can look up a lot of that information on dallasbond.com. November 7th, we had an election. All the 10 propositions passed. That's a breakdown of all those projects. Most of you probably can't see them, but there's 10 propositions. We lettered them A through J. The streets department probably got the lion's share of those projects, and that was about half of the monies went to streets and transportation, followed by parks and recreation that received 261 million. You can also probably count Fair Park into that received 50 million, and you see the breakdown there, as well as the number of projects. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some specifics on each of the propositions. $534 million for streets and transportation. They consist of traffic signal system upgrades, installation of warranted traffic signals, street reconstruction, sidewalks, repairs to critical bridges, and the like. Parks and Recreation received a pretty substantial amount as well. They've had some pretty grand, large projects: Aquatics Master Plan, Southern Gateway, Dallas Zoo improvements that were required, the Arboretum, trails, 38 miles, that's significant. And then some rehabilitations to some of the rec centers. Fair Park received 50 million. You have the breakdown there to make some improvements, whether it's the HVAC or plumbing, security system upgrades to all those facilities that you see there: Hall State, African American Museum, on through the Centennial Building. We'll move on to the next proposition, which is flood control and storm drainage. They received almost 50 million as well, 85 projects. Large one would be Vinemont Channel improvements, some bank stabilization throughout. Libraries received $15.5 million. 3 major projects: a whole new library at Vickery Middle. There is a replacement of a library at Forest Green, and some other work at the Central Library. Cultural and performing arts facilities that were really degraded or been falling apart on us. We spent $14 million from the Museum of Art, Kalita Humphreys, and those that you see there. Public safety facilities. We made some significant, or put some money in for some significant upgrades, almost 33 million. Security, as you all know, a little bit over a year ago, police officers were attacked sometime there before our headquarters attacked, and so we've done some studies to make those facilities that we have much stronger, safer. A whole new fire station at Jim Miller and Loop 12. Some fire station replacements, and then those others that you see here. This proposition is always harder to pass, and this is City Hall and City Services Administrative Facilities. For those of you that lived in the city of Dallas and voted, thank you for voting for this one as well. And the reason I tell you it's a little bit harder is because a lot of times the public feels, they're city employees, they don't need it. And so in this case, that's not what we heard. This is a proposition that passed well, also. And there's some expansion to the West Dallas Multi-Purpose Center, City Hall renovations, replacement panels, things that even just help some of the city facilities come up to code. Proposition I, or the next proposition, economic development, housing. This is a little bit harder to define because a lot of times this is like reserved money that's put in place to leave us open for opportunities with developers or others so that we can participate. So they're not always defined right away. We need to be able to jump on those opportunities as well. As well as you see here, some mixed income housing, some neighborhood revitalization. Homeless assistance, 20 million. And there's some money here is for permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing, and day centers. And I guess the part that many of you might be waiting for, so what are the next steps? Now that you got the bond program, you've got to define how are you going to put it together. There's a strong commitment by our city manager to put this bond program and let it all out in 5 years. We're setting up our whole infrastructure to be able to deliver that. And so what we have done is we are creating the bond program office. This is different. In the past, you might have had up to 12 propositions, and the delivery departments like streets and parks and equipment and building services, all those departments would deliver those projects, and they would kind of work independent of each other. In this case, there will be one office that works with these departments. And so that office will own all the bond program, all of it together. They'll work with the departments for some of the delivery, but mostly they'll be responsible for the program management of that office, or of the bond program altogether. It's different from what we've done before. And so in doing so, we are going to engage on hiring some project management help. There should be an SOQ have already come out or will be coming out very, very soon, and we'll be soliciting for some help in our facilities and vertical, horizontal, and probably some parks as well. Getting feedback from the engineering community, they asked us, well, to help us, can you get that program management out of the way first, so that way we can see how we can set up our teams and going after all the other engineering projects that will be coming out as well. So you probably start seeing those coming out in about March, late February or March. And then with that, I'll open it up to any questions that you might have. I always love it when I'm so thorough that there's just absolutely, or that, or you're completely confused and you're asking, what did you talk about, right? So yeah, stand up and ask your question. I'll repeat it over here.
Hi, I'm Galceran. I'm the chair of the Sustainability Institute for Galceran. Are there any holistic sustainability goals that you have for the bond?
So are there any holistic sustainability goals that we have for, I'll say, for the bond program? And my simple answer is of course, no, we don't do that thing. No, I'm just kidding, of course. No, actually they are, we want to be able to aspire and move with a lot of the envision type of focus. We want to continue to work on our lead type of certification projects that we're working on. Some of our street projects are, I would call them multimodal. There's several words you use for them, complete street types, right? And in the holistic side, which is very dear to me, because I'm over our maintenance as well as the capital side of our projects, I'll always look at projects from a long term. What's it going to cost us in 10, 20 years? So landscapes may look pretty, or benches or trash cans, but in the long run, what's it going to cost us to do that maintenance over a long period of time? But so yes, very much so. Tom, not you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
The RFQs, the release of the RFQs, is that for pretty much the entire bond program, or is that the first batch?
So what we don't want to do is overwhelm our engineering community. We're thinking about maybe releasing it in a couple of batches. At the same time, kind of give you a little bit of the insights of how you schedule and try to set out to deliver a bond program. The city of Dallas doesn't borrow, in this case, $1.05 billion at one time. Actually, it determines on a year-by-year basis. Let me see if I can go backward. So as you see those graphs going down, and you see those gap, the capacity, you can see the first years of that capacity will be smaller. So the amount of money that we'll have available to us is a smaller amount. As the years go on, it gets larger and larger. And so what we'll do is the first year we'll probably have, I don't know, anywhere from about $150 million worth of projects, and then the second year probably 210, and so on and so on. And so we don't look at it as being prudent to get them all the engineering out the first year. So, but at the same time, because we want to hit that 5-year full implementation, it's important to us to get as many of these engineering projects out, at least in the first 2, maybe 2.5 years. Yes, sir.
Flood control and storm drainage, I know they identified about $1 million worth of needs today. The bond program basically is awarding them about $50 million, which is nowhere close to where they're what they need. What's the idea of the plan behind that long term?
Sure. So you know, and you can say that about any proposition, right? If you look, I might be going the wrong way, I'm sure, yeah. If you look at the needs here, each one of them exceed the proposition or the category, just to make it easier to define, streets, parks, and so on. Each of the needs exceeded by at least, I don't know, 90% of what they're going to receive. So nobody's going to be able. We're not going to be able to do it all. So you concentrate on the most critical parts. That's what we're trying to do. In the case of the flood and drainage, they'll also have some other revenues that can help to offset that. They've got some. So they're going to explore a little bit more on the stormwater fees and other fees to help augment some of those needs as well, and hit those most critical projects that are out there. Yes, sir.
Put some water and wastewater out here anywhere. I don't think that you need to operate separate from public works.
So sure, what it is here. Okay, let me go up a little bit more. So on this slide, towards the top, if the person that put this, that edited, I had put wastewater and water facilities and airport infrastructure. I had bolded that in red to remind me to tell you otherwise. But those are paid by, not by property value or property taxes. They're paid by the fees. And so they're self-generating, so they're a little bit different from what's there. So yes, I would say in both cases, there's probably sell bonds every year, and their projects are continuously going. And in our case, since we're doing property values, ad valorem taxes, we will have these processes about every 4, 5, 6 years, and in this case, the citizens will determine whether we're going to have those. We're going to have a bond program, and what propositions will pass. Yes, sir.
Has any thought been given to if you do a project management scenario, whether that team of firms will be included to design on individual projects?
I believe that there would be a conflict. Did everybody hear that question? Or anybody not hear that question? Okay. So the question was, on the RFP associated with program management that we're going to go out for, would they be precluded from participating on design contracts? And what I'm saying, I believe that there would be a conflict, yes.
Rick,
Oh, yes.
do do you have projects ready for construction?
Yes, we do. So I was ready to award them in December. And when I found out then that there's some legal processes that have to occur, and I'm like, trying to get these out as soon as possible. We do have project ready or shovel ready projects, and so we hope to begin those out in awarding those in late January.
A number of firms in here provide construction services. Does the city of Dallas have any plans to hire outsource for construction inspection on public work projects?
I think there's going to be some opportunities. I can't tell you, give you specifics, we're not there yet, but yes, I do believe there'll be some opportunities.
I think I'll relieve you. I think that's all the time we have for questions.
Got the hook, guys, sorry.